It all started with one of the hardest confessions Whitney Rose has ever made on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. The cameras were rolling, the Arizona desert sun was blazing, and Whitney's voice trembled as she admitted to processing trauma from her childhood. But what no one saw coming, not even Whitney herself, was how that moment would set off a chain reaction that would shake her entire world. A broken friendship, a husband's unexpected job loss, and a business crumbling before her eyes. This was the beginning of Whitney's most challenging chapter. Before we dive deeper into how Whitney rebuilt her life from the ashes of Season 3 to the woman we see now in Season 6, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel if you love reality TV deep dives, untold Housewives truths, and Bravo tea that no one else dares to spill. Now, let's get into it. The Arizona trip should have been a fresh start, an escape. But instead, it became the moment Whitney's world cracked wide open. She was surrounded by the women she thought were her friends, especially Heather Gay, her third cousin and closest ally. But after Whitney opened up about her painful past, something shifted. A few drinks, a few careless words, and suddenly the tension boiled over. What started as a night of emotional healing turned into one of the most infamous RHOSLC moments. A fight in lingerie that viewers still can't forget. Whitney later admitted that watching those episodes back felt like reliving her worst nightmare. She was heartbroken, drunk, and vulnerable, and the person she expected to hold her hand instead pushed her away. "I really dislike watching when Heather and I fight in lingerie in Arizona," she told Us Weekly. "It was so hard. I was so intoxicated, so emotional. I had just shared that I was processing trauma from my childhood, and then my best friend and I got into a fight. It was terrifying." That fight marked the beginning of what Whitney calls the hardest season of her life. Suddenly, she didn't have her girl, the one who had always stood by her. And when Heather walked away, someone unexpected stepped in to fill that space. Lisa Barlow. Yes, Lisa. The same woman who had once been caught in the middle of Whitney's accusations and Heather's loyalty tests. In a season where friendships fractured, Lisa's surprising support gave Whitney the strength to keep going when she nearly walked away from it all. Off camera, Whitney's life was falling apart just as fast. Her husband, Justin Rose, lost his job, a shocking twist that no one saw coming. "I was actually going to quit and send my email to Bravo," Whitney confessed, and Justin literally pulled up next to me in the car and said, "I got fired, so I couldn't quit." In one moment, everything changed. The show she wanted to escape suddenly became the thing she couldn't afford to leave. But what's even more powerful is what came next. Whitney didn't collapse. She adapted. She kept filming, even though she felt emotionally shattered. Lisa Barlow became her unexpected rock, telling her she was stronger than she believed, that she could survive the chaos and come out even more authentic than before. For the first time, Whitney wasn't just the fun, wild, free-spirited housewife everyone knew her as. She was raw, real, human. Still, the fallout from Arizona didn't fade quickly. The tension between Whitney and Heather spilled across the rest of Season 3. The cousins clashed over loyalty, over rumors about Lisa, and over the feeling that one had betrayed the other. Heather denied hearing any gossip about Lisa, while Whitney accused her of pretending not to remember, a small spark that erupted into full-blown chaos. "Heather made me feel like I was crazy," Whitney later said, "but all I wanted was honesty. All I wanted was to feel like she had my back." Their feud reached its breaking point when Heather literally kicked Whitney out of her home during episode 7, a moment that shocked fans and solidified one of the most painful rifts in RHOSLC history. For Whitney, it wasn't just a friendship lost, it was family. And as viewers watched her walk out of Heather's house, tears streaming down her face, few knew what was happening behind the scenes. Her marriage was under strain, her business was struggling, and she was questioning everything, including who she was without the labels of housewife, businesswoman, or even cousin. But just as every fall sets the stage for a comeback, Whitney's story didn't end there. Fast forward to Season 6, and we see a different Whitney, one who has been through the storm and is finally ready to tell the truth about how deep the damage really went. Her company, Wild Rose Beauty, which once seemed full of promise, had failed. Her marriage to Justin was struggling under the weight of financial pressure and emotional distance. And Whitney was left wondering if her decision to be fun and fearless, the same energy that once defined her, was the very thing that caused her world to crumble. In episode 5 of season 6, Whitney revealed the truth that hit fans hard. "The failure of my business hurt my relationship with Justin," she admitted. "That hit me at such a deep level that I felt like I had to change that part of me to conform to who I thought Whitney had to be. And in the end, I lost it all anyway." That's when she realized the heartbreaking truth. She had dimmed her light to save her marriage, and in doing so, lost the very essence of what made her shine. Yet there's beauty in the breakdown, and that's what makes Whitney's journey so compelling. Instead of staying in the wreckage, she's rebuilding from the ground up. She's returning to the version of herself that fans fell in love with. Spontaneous, unfiltered, wild, and unapologetically Whitney. And this time, she's not trying to fit into anyone's mold. Not Heather's, not Justin's, not Bravo's. As RHOSLC Season 6 unfolds, the bond between Heather and Whitney has surprisingly healed. The cousins, once enemies, are now stronger than ever, something no one could have predicted back in Arizona. They've chosen forgiveness, vulnerability, and understanding over the grudges that nearly destroyed them. And that reconciliation is one of the biggest emotional turnarounds in Housewives history. But make no mistake, this isn't just about forgiveness. This is about a woman rediscovering her identity, learning that being too much is better than not being enough, and proving that even when your world collapses, you can rise stronger, freer, and more alive than ever before. Because when Whitney Rose says she's getting back to being the fun, free-spirited, loving, wild Whitney, she means it. Whitney Rose's story didn't stop when the cameras stopped rolling. What viewers see in The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 6 is the result of years of quiet struggle and a rebirth that came from hitting rock bottom. When Justin lost his job and Wild Rose Beauty began to collapse, Whitney faced the kind of pressure that could break anyone. The whispers of judgment from castmates, the online chatter from fans, and the constant self-doubt created a storm that seemed impossible to survive. But sometimes, the only way out is through. And for Whitney, that meant confronting the truth about herself and her marriage. In Season 6, she opened up like never before, raw, transparent, and stripped of the Bravo gloss. She admitted that she had internalized Justin's job loss as her fault, believing that her boldness and authenticity had cost their family stability. It's a kind of guilt few talk about on reality TV, the quiet, invisible burden of believing your ambition caused the people you love to fall. Yet, what makes Whitney's Season 6 story so magnetic is her refusal to stay broken. Instead of hiding her pain, she used it as a platform for growth. She didn't just talk about her trauma, she confronted it head-on, in therapy, in front of cameras, and even with the women who had once judged her. The Whitney we see now isn't afraid of being misunderstood. She's afraid of living inauthentically. When Heather Gay re-entered her life, it wasn't with an apology wrapped in a bow. It was messy, uncomfortable, and real. The two women sat face to face, their past wounds visible in every word. But this time, instead of defending herself, Whitney listened. Instead of accusing, Heather reflected. Their reconciliation wasn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It was about accepting that both had been hurt, both had contributed, and both deserved to heal. Fans didn't just see two cousins making peace, they witnessed a full circle moment that felt bigger than reality TV. And yet, even with friendships mending, the most powerful transformation happened at home. Whitney and Justin's marriage had been through fire. They went from being Bravo's picture-perfect couple to partners forced to rebuild from ashes. For the first time, Whitney admitted the truth that so many hide. We lost ourselves in the chaos. I became someone I didn't recognize, someone who thought she had to be quiet, composed, and controlled to make everyone else comfortable. That realization was the turning point. Whitney began to reclaim her power piece by piece, not by reinventing herself, but by returning to who she always was before the cameras, before the brand deals, before the pressure to perform. The spontaneous, fearless woman who danced without caring, who laughed loudly, who loved boldly. That's the Whitney who is emerging in Season 6. Justin, too, has evolved alongside her. Losing his job could have been the end. Instead, it became the catalyst for both of them to reassess what really mattered. In therapy, they confronted years of unspoken tension, unmet expectations, and guilt that had been buried under their glamorous public life. Slowly, they began to rebuild a relationship based not on perfection, but on truth. It's ironic that a show built on conflict gave Whitney the space to rediscover peace. In her Season 6 confessionals, her tone is different, calmer, surer, grounded. Gone is the nervous energy of someone trying to prove her worth. In its place stands a woman who has already been tested and survived. She's no longer asking for acceptance. She's standing in it. But that doesn't mean the drama disappears. RHOSLC is still a pressure cooker of personalities, and Whitney's renewed independence doesn't always sit well with everyone. Lisa Barlow, once her unexpected confidant, finds herself in a shifting dynamic as Whitney learns to stand alone. Their bond, while rooted in genuine connection, starts to strain under the weight of evolving identities. Lisa had been the one who convinced Whitney she could survive Season 3. But by Season 6, Whitney doesn't need convincing anymore. She's no longer surviving the storm. She's learning to dance in the rain. Behind the scenes, Whitney has also been quietly rebuilding Wild Rose Beauty, not as a desperate comeback attempt, but as a reflection of who she truly is now. A brand born out of vulnerability, authenticity, and resilience. It's no longer just about skincare. It's about self-love and transformation. And whether it succeeds or not, Whitney's pride isn't tied to numbers or profit. It's tied to courage. The courage to try again. What makes her story so powerful is how deeply human it feels. Beneath the glitz, the confessionals, and the snow-covered backdrops of Salt Lake City, Whitney's journey mirrors something universal. The pain of losing yourself and the strength it takes to find your way back. Viewers who once saw her as the wild one now see her as the survivor, the realist, the woman who turned her lowest moment into a message of empowerment. In the Bravo universe, it's easy for authenticity to get lost in the noise of glam and gossip. But Whitney Rose stands out because she refuses to play a character. She's not pretending to be the perfect wife, the flawless businesswoman, or the eternal optimist. She's just real, messy, flawed, and honest. And in doing so, she's reshaping what it means to be a housewife. By the time the credits roll on Season 6, Whitney's message is clear. Growth doesn't always come from winning. Sometimes it comes from breaking. From losing your footing and learning to stand again. From forgiving yourself for the parts of you that you once thought were too much. Heather and Whitney's renewed bond is proof that even the deepest rifts can heal when honesty replaces ego. And Justin's quiet, steadfast presence shows that love, when tested, can evolve instead of collapse. The Whitney we see now is not the same woman who cried through Arizona. She's stronger, freer, and more self-aware than ever. As fans, we've watched her stumble, rise, fall, and rise again, and that's exactly why her story resonates. It's not about gossip or glamour. It's about grit. It's about a woman who refused to let her lowest moment define her. So, as Season 6 continues to unfold, one thing is certain. Whitney Rose isn't chasing approval anymore. She's chasing peace. And if her journey has taught us anything, it's this. You can lose everything and still come back brighter. Because sometimes the biggest glow-up isn't on the outside. It's the quiet strength that comes after the storm. And if you've been through something similar, if you've ever doubted yourself, lost your spark, or felt like you had to change to be accepted, take a page from Whitney's story. Be wild, be free, be unapologetically you.